is this amazing side hustle opportunity in the federal government space. Many call it middleman. So what is it, you may wonder? Does it take a lot of time? Is this legit? Can I really make money doing it? And the answer is yes to all of those questions, and I know you're thinking. In essence, the federal government needs to buy something, and I'm going to show you, because there's no other way to talk about this without showing you. This is a great example. So what you have before you, so right here, the federal government needs to replace NEMA cabinet. In case you're like, well, what are those? Okay, you can at least get an idea by gleaming here. So you can see, okay, looks like they're metal. They look a little complicated, but I'm sure there is an expert or two or three or four or five in this space. When it comes to these different opportunities, here's something to take note of. And this is where the whole middleman, the side hustle piece comes in. You are not the one doing the work. You are finding a firm, a product, an expert to provide the services. So for instance, we have a contract with the Department of Interior for radical collaboration. We have team members who provide those specific radical collaboration training. That's what they do. That's all they do is radical collaboration. That's their expertise. That is no different than what we're looking at here. Cabinet. You can sub these words for training, for IT, for trimming trees, paving cement, for staffing. And it's a side hustle because I want you to see how quickly this can happen, okay? So I looked up Department of Interior because they're often overlooked. Most people think Army, Navy, Little Wayne kind of agencies. And you can see here, it's a total small business set aside, which we always like. And it only has a couple of attachments, which we also really like. So there's a PDF, and then there's an Excel sheet. So if you do not have PDF or you do not have Excel, look into a way so you can look at these documents. And you also will notice the point of contact's email and phone number are listed. This is really important because if you have any questions, you simply call and email the person. Now, with anything in life, I can't guarantee they're gonna write you back. I can't guarantee they're gonna pick up the phone, but at least you have a phone number and you have an email address. So I'm gonna switch to the attachment so then you can take a look at what they desire, okay? So right here is the attachment, the PDF. Remember, there's only two attachments, a PDF and an Excel. What I like to do is first and foremost, look for the evaluation criteria because I wanna know how are they judging? I just need to know. And you see right here, and I'll zoom in case the font is kind of small, you will notice it says the criteria is below, or the criteria, they are below. So far, this just says they need to replace the cabinets, their electrical cabinets. It's at Wolf Trap National Park for the Performing Arts in Virginia, Vienna. That's in the DC area. They've included the wage determination, which I will talk about. The deadline is February 29th. And all you need to do is send one electronic copy to John and to Kaylee. They also want the price quote broken down as well as lump sum, which makes sense. Imagine if you called me and you said, hey, I would love for you to paint your house. And I'm like, okay, great. It's going to be $4,000. And you're like, $4,000? What does that include? What kind of paint am I getting? Why is it $4,000? It's the same thing. Your quote must be valid for 90 days. You must acknowledge any amendments, can't send anything late. And this is the NAICS code, which I'm going to put in the chat. So it's NAICS code. I know the screen went black, 238210. See if it came back up. Okay, just give me a second. I'm going to replace this. Okay, perfect. So that was just me typing in evaluation. And then what they basically did is, although they said, based upon the evaluation criteria noted below, in reality, this section is really instructions to offer, like what you need to do. So think about it. With a full-time job, with a part-time job, you are looking for somebody to replace electric cabinet in Vienna, Virginia. That's all you're looking for so far. There's nothing that I've mentioned that sounds ridiculous, other than if you're not in Sam.gov, if you're completely new. Then here it says, this is how they're going to evaluate. Okay, so price, it's reasonable. Remember, you have to break it down. And technical, it says that you're able to meet the requirements in the statement of work. Now, at this point in time, some of you may be thinking, well, wait a minute, Kizzy, I don't have any background in cabinets. Why would they go with me? Why? Well, it's a total small business set aside and they just need the cabinets replaced. That's all that they need. So you are brokering, you are the middleman, you are subcontracting this out. No different than Amazon. The Amazon delivery person, more than likely, they don't work for Amazon. And so they go with you because this is a small business set aside. So by awarding it to a small business, they're helping small businesses. And remember, the vast majority of companies in the United States are small businesses. So the steps are very simple. And you may, and what I want to also emphasize is don't get discouraged as I'm scrolling here. Don't think like, oh my gosh, this is so much. Think about it in terms of, okay, well, what do you want to eat for dinner? Maybe you're like, oh, I'm feeling like Chinese. Okay, well, which Chinese? Do you have a favorite Chinese? Are you going to go to Yelp? Are you going to go to Google? Are you going to ask a friend? Are you going to go on Instagram? This is no different. You're just simply finding a company to provide what the government needs. That's all you're doing. So it's Wolf Trap. So we can then type in, so the next step, you all are so amazing. Yeah, KPC, yes, that's my flagship company. Just a second. So what I ended up doing is you'll see here in the other screen, I just simply typed in Vienna, Virginia electric cabinets. And you're gonna see a list of companies who are in the cabinet business. So what you want to then do is contact a minimum of 1. I would contact a maximum of 5 because what you're doing is you're getting different price quotes. No different than, okay, you want Chinese food. So you go on Yelp, you're on your phone, you're like, okay, this one has 3 stars, this one has 4. Okay, this one's open late. Oh, I like the pictures on this one. You're narrowing down which vendor and quote or which price you're going to submit based on what you get from them, okay? So all the information, all of the details for the opportunity, it's in that PDF. So what's key is for you to be able to put it in layman terms. Hey, looking for electric cabinets to be replaced at Wolf Trap National Park. So then when you call, okay, let's say we call, find a good one, JDC Fab. Well, maybe not JDC Fab. I don't think they're in America. Sorry about that, y'all. Maybe Autumn Electric. You can reach out to them. Hey, Autumn Electric, I'm looking to talk to somebody in sales. I heard that you are the go-to company to replace these NEMA cabinets. I'm working on an opportunity with the federal government and I would love to get a price quote. Is this type of work that you may be interested in? Is for Wolf Trap National Park. They may say, oh yeah, da, 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 da. And it may take numerous times because not everybody wants to be involved in this kind of work. You may also ask yourself, well, why don't these people submit it themselves? Why are you submitting? Because they're not interested in going through this. Their passion is with electrical things or whatever area that they're in. That's their passion. And so they're so deep in the passion, they're not in the government contracting space necessarily. And for those of you who maybe have the mindset of, well, what if somebody takes this from me? What if Autumn Electric bids on it without me? You can go to Sam.gov, you log in, and you can search their name to see if they're a government contractor. And guess what? Chances are they may say, yeah, we're a government contractor, but we don't really want to deal with all the paperwork. That's why this is a great side hustle. The majority of your time is on the searching and contacting these firms. And the tighter you come across and the more professional you come across, the more apt they're going to be like, oh my gosh, of course, hey, yeah. So, for instance, I learned of this opportunity from a colleague. And while I was sitting at his desk, he pulled it up. He made a phone call. The guy on the phone was like, oh my gosh, because he took the call from his computer, so I was able to hear everything. And the guy on the other end was like, oh my gosh, I'm very familiar with Wolf Trap. I would love this opportunity. I love when young people call me. I've been in this business like 40 something years. Like the guy was really cool. So with this particular opportunity, you're getting the information from them. You're getting the technical information from them. You're getting the pricing information. And this particular bid, let me get this for you all. They actually provide you with a bid sheet. Not every opportunity does that, but this one came with a bid sheet. So you would ask the company that you're going to go with, all the companies you're getting quotes from, to provide the information accordingly. Hey, can you break it down by hours, your rate? There's an electrician, who else is involved? What else is involved? And the other tip is, when you give them the information, don't just email them that PDF. Here you go. Can you tell me what it will cost? I mean, that's a lot. Imagine if somebody did that for you. Let's say imagine you make cakes, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting married. I just want a big old chocolate cake. You're gonna be like, what? What am I supposed to do with that, right? You want to make it as easy as possible because you want multiple quotes. It'd be cool to get 5 quotes so then you can adjust, because you're putting your profit on top of this. So if they say, oh, well, we charge $85 for an electrician, you can bump up that to $95, $110, because they already said they are evaluating this by looking at the cost and your technical response. Since these are companies who specialize in electronics and cabinets in this entire space, they're the experts. They're going to give you that information. And I saw some questions already and I'm going to answer some of these questions about general liability insurance and things of that nature. All you have to do is do a control. On my computer, it's a Command F to see, do you need bonding? Do you need a license? Do you need insurance? And a tip is, those may be no-goes for you. When you do a Control F, if you're like, oh my gosh, it needs bonding and this insurance and a special license from New Hampshire, then don't bid on it. This is one where the requirements are quite nominal for what they're looking for. So then for this one, you would fill out that Excel sheet. You would have a cover page. Then your second page, depending on how long your document is, the second page may be a table of contents. It may not be. The second page, you talk about your company. You include the past performance. Again, the past performance of your subcontractor. And then you go into, yes, we are going to use blank, blank, blank cabinets. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You can get that information from them and/or from ChatGPT, everyone. I use ChatGPT quite regularly. You can also use ChatGPT to ensure that you're able to describe how, loosely how you're going to go about doing it. Because at the end of the day, for something like this is a one and done effort. It's like you deliver the cabinets, they're going to check off on the cabinets, you invoice, then you get paid. And in this space, you should be able to negotiate a net 30, or you may say, listen, I'll do a net 15, and by doing so, can you give me a 5% discount on the price I quoted? So those are some things to think about. So when it comes to middleman side hustle in the government, this is one opportunity. There are thousands of opportunities like this. They all are not cabinet, but that's basically how this works. And those who really get it, they lean into it. They have their processes and procedures in place. They have other people doing it, and then they're able to scale and scale and scale. But if you're like, I just want maybe 1 win, or I just want 2 wins, or I just want an extra $3,000. Is the government space becoming saturated? I just say no. What I found has happened is that if everybody is bidding on something similar because of TikTok, then yeah, it's going to be saturated, but it's not the market. It's like that one thing. Can I quit my job being a middleman? Can you quit your job and be a middleman? Yeah. Hell yeah, you can. Listen, if you spend all your waking hours, okay, maybe not all your waking. So this is kind of taking the side hustle and turning it into the main hustle. You spend 8 to 10 hours a day honing in on opportunities and getting quotes and submitting bids. You submit 5 a week. There's no reason you can't. I haven't even talked about the real estate pieces. I haven't even talked about that. You can flip hotel rooms. There's short-term housing. There's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a ton of opportunities. So yes, do SV certifications matter when I'm acting? I just shared an opportunity with everyone. I'm going to put the link here so you can take a look, and I'll actually share my screen so you can see what I am even talking. Okay, perfect. So for this opportunity, it is a total small business. Pretty much everybody watching this, you are a total small business. There are thousands of opportunities. People have multi 20, 30, $40 million a year business just off of total small business. Now, here's where the set aside comes in handy. I'm going to go back here and kind of reset things. Contract opportunities, advanced search, set aside. So let's do certified WOSB and SDVOSB. And we only want to look at solicitations. So for those of you who are really new to this, we're looking at what they want to buy, right? What are they looking to buy? So, and then you can even drill it down even further. So in the next 3 months, there's 668 in the next 3 months. So for Ms. Lyric and for everybody else watching, when you have this set aside, you're narrowing the competition. So under total small business, some small businesses are doing 40 million a year. Some small businesses are doing 0 a year. Now that I put in woman-owned and veteran, it further narrows it down. So now there's 668 opportunities, but only companies with either one of these can bid. Predominantly, the VA uses the SDVOSB. You'll see, let's see, there's 141 for woman-owned. Paving, supervisor, community of practice support. I mean, there's several of them here. And for many of these, you can use the middleman approach. It's just now you're only competing with a small segment. That's pretty much how that works, okay? There's other tips and strategies, but I'm not here to overwhelm you or for you to be like, I don't know about that. So do middleman take home the balance of what is left over of the subcontracting spending price? So let's go back to the initial opportunity I shared at the very beginning, which is for cabinets, right? For at a park. So let's say you get 5 quotes and you're like, you know what? Basically, I'm going to bid this at $30,000. You know, you're like $30,000 covers the spread. You're like, I'm going to pay out $30,000, and maybe you add in $10,000, $20,000 for your profit to this opportunity. Okay. So when you go to invoice, you are invoicing the award amount. So let's say it's $50,000. So you invoice 50, you get paid into your bank account. The bank account you put into Sam.Gov, you get paid, and then you pay the vendor whatever you agree to, and you keep the rest. And it's none of their business. Think about Amazon. Does Amazon know the profit margin of OtterBox? I don't know. I mean, it's Amazon, they might know, but maybe not. Do they need to know the profit margin? Is it really any of their, So it's like those types of things are sacred. That's why you don't see a lot of people saying like, oh, on my Futuro wrist guards, I'm making a 90% profit because I get these for 5 cents in China. Like people aren't always talking about that. You hear about it on Shark Tank, or some people out there, but you're like, I'm going to pay out $30,000, and maybe you add in 3 to 5%. No, but not everybody shares it. You don't hear Kim Kardashian, Fenty. I don't know what Rihanna's profit margins are. So that's how it works, Kimmy. Okay. After you win a contract is the middleman. How do you get paid? Direct deposit into the bank account listed in your Sam.Gov site. What is the difference between middleman and prime contracting? So the prime contractor is the company who has the contract. Like your name is on the contract agreement. The subcontractor, the middleman, whatever else you want to call it, they're the people that you're paying to do the thing. But you're the one with the contract. What industry? Gustavo, I've been asked that and I'm kind of torn. Part of me is like HVAC, paving, training, then there's this part of me like put in weird agency, like Department of Interior. Nobody's like, oh, I want to do work for Fish and Wildlife, and we have $1 million contract with. I mean, I say it's this balance because you could have 2 completely similar opportunities with vastly different requirements. And you may see like, oh, wow, Fish and Wildlife, their requirements and putting together these proposals, this is way easier than with Army or than with Department of State. So sometimes you gotta taste it. It's like a buffet. There are things that you may say, I don't know if I want to eat that, but then you taste it and you're like, oh my gosh, I love it, right? That's really how this is. I think this is a really good one too, is the poverty czar talked about, there's always a fear of bidding. There's like this interesting connection to your name because you have like poverty czar in your name, which could reference a lot of different things. But the fear is it. It's just fear because you don't have the experience you just don't have that experience yet. So you're just going to let fear hold you back and fight for your excuses? No, we don't do that here. Yes, there's a fear of bidding, but if you don't do it, then you're never going to win anything. There are companies right now making millions of dollars a year doing this. I have a different subcontract. We bring in millions a year. A gentleman who I saw here in Tulum, Mexico, he showed me one of his contracts. Here, I'm gonna share it with you all. I met him here when I was leaving the gym in Tulum, beautiful Tulum, Mexico. And I was like, oh wow, there's a black dude riding a bike. And I was like, oh, I wonder, that's so cool. Listen, there ain't a ton of black people. And then he's like, Dr. Parks, and we started talking, and he's amazing. So I'm gonna look at this because I don't want to share all of his information in here. And he won a contract for $612,000 to $612,269.15. He won this contract, and he sent me a copy of the award details. The award is in Sam.Gov, and he's also has a full-time job. And so, let's just say he gets 10% of that. Would you want 10% of $612,000? I think we all would. And so, yes, it can seem scary. It can seem like, well, it can't be that easy. There's no way. I didn't say you're gonna get a bunch of wins out the gate. There's still work. I have the mindset but it's still, you got to find the opportunity. You still have to call, you have to email, you got to get the information, you have to do typing, you have to do some of those things. But at the end of the day, to me, this is a better side hustle than getting paid to click a button. Or I remember once I was paid back in the day to be a secret shopper. I used to love it because I was really overweight and I loved eating fast food. So I love that. I think I had to go to Popeyes, and this was Popeyes way before that chicken sandwich. So I love stuff like that. But how many times did I do that? I don't know. I think I did it twice, 3 times. There are people who drive Uber and don't make a ton of money. There are people who drive Uber and make a ton of money. I just think this is an awesome side hustle because you can do it 24 hours a day. And even if you're working during normal business hours, have somebody make the phone calls on your behalf. Because the thing is, when somebody reaches out, it's a blessing. I had a large company reach out because they know of me, and they're like, hey, we want to partner on this opportunity with the Florida National Guard. And I was like, say less. It's like, sign me up, because they did all the heavy lifting. They wrote the proposal, we negotiated the pricing, we submitted it, everything was beautiful. And we ended up being the prime contractor. It was gorgeous. It was an awesome opportunity because we didn't have to do all the heavy lifting. Now, of course, there are people out there who are going to be like, no, this could be a scam. I got it, but just move on. That's why I can't emphasize enough the mindset piece of it. I know we're going to win contracts. I know you're going to win contracts. Everybody here, there's no reason you can't. There's no reason. So I just want to share that passionately. How do you find opportunities to flip hotel rooms? Let me get the NAICS code. Just give me a second. So here, let me show. One way to search for specific things are by NAICS codes. I go in here all the time. I do not have these things memorized. So I'll put hotels, copy it. Then in Sam.Gov, I go to contract opportunities, advanced search, product or service information. I cut and paste. You can see in matches. I didn't do anything else. I just cut and pasted. Now, all of these opportunities may not be active, so you can go over here and do within 3 months. So you can see there's a conference in Louisiana, lodging for 52 people in Poland, Army, lodging program for different drills, 300 night. Let's see, that was now due in March. Event coordination, blue ribbon, lodging, hotel berthing. You get the gist. So the key to these are the government doesn't pay for tax. So you're going to need to get a document from that location, making sure that you're tax exempt, and or you may be able to work directly with that hotel. They may say, oh, this is for the federal government. Don't worry, we'll just give you the GSA rate, okay, which is what the government bases their hotel rates off of. Also, as with most middlemen, just be careful because sometimes these hotels, they also have cage codes and they may bid on it themselves, but that's all, it took a couple minutes. And also, work with the hotel and say, hey, is it all right if I pay you after the fact? And I want you to hear something, y'all. I want you to hear it because I do love me some Anna Delvey, and she's a trip. And if you watch anything about her or any of the shows or movies about her, basically she scammed these hotels. So she So she would go to these hotels and she was like, oh, I'm this heiress and we're going to wire transfer you the money. And she would stay in these very high-end hotels for like 30 days. She would never pay them. There was one hotel she paid, but even during that time, they weren't like, hey, you need to give us that card. No, we need to swipe the Visa, City Girls or anything. They just let it go. And I remember watching thinking like, oh, this must be some privilege thing, or, where are these places she stayed? Every time I check in for a hotel, first thing they say is, can we have your ID and your method of payment, right? Unless somebody has put down a credit card on your behalf. So I was like, man, this is privilege, right? Until we started flipping hotels for a Fortune 500 company that every single one of you would recognize. And these bills were pretty large. Hundreds of thousands to 7 million. And this particular company, they would cancel the rooms and then they would leverage us to pay the cancellation fees. They would leverage us to pay when the rooms were used. And these hotels wouldn't be paid for months on end. Months. Now, unlike Aunt Delvey, who seemed like she wasn't going to pay him anyways, this is not the case. My point is, if there are hotels who allowed a woman not to pay, and then you have a Fortune 500 company who has a setup where they're able to leverage hotels and all these services and don't pay for months, why can't we do that? Why should I be treated differently as a business owner? So I just want to put that out there. And this is where negotiation, persuasion, sales skills play a role. And I'm speaking from what I've experienced, okay? So those are my thoughts about hotels. Can you please send me any info to get started? I'm not registered business on Sam. Got it. So at the end of the day, you have to have a business. That's basic. You just have to have a business. As long as you have a business, just register it on Sam. That's all you got to do. Just start with there. And then the next thing is, as far as like, well, what do I sell? I say you sell what you're comfortable with. There are areas and there are agencies that are going to be easier to get wins than others. So here's a great example. And this is hot off the presses. So soon I'm dropping an amazing offering all about selling product. Okay. There's a special website you go to, gpo.gov. And the